No problem. So again, began in Yikoach Hatzir Binyan Elam Haba, as far as imagining, and Elam Haba, which is something really beyond. They were able, the earlier generations, using their imagination, they were able to be, I guess, delve into things, think about it. And they would give thought, they would be misamic. So I'll say, the Rav would regularly say, like Olam Haba is not like Olam Haba. Olam Haba in Boy Lo Yachila, V'lo Shtia, V'lo Piriviriv, V'lo Masal Matan, V'lo Kina, V'lo Sina, V'lo Tacharus. In Olam Haba, there's no eating, there's no drinking, no reproduction, no children, no business, jealousy, no hate, no competition. No tzaddikim raised from the Tresember chain. Rather, it's a place where the tzaddik is crowned on the heads, and they get enjoyment from the splendor of the Shekhinah Adkan. When Mitzrayim La'atzmam, they would picture to themselves, have this enjoyment that the Gemara calls enjoying the Ziv Hashkina, much greater than the pleasures of this world, because it's a pleasure, it's direct, it's a direct contact. That's an interesting aspect. That is greater than in this world, because kind of Nenim Ziv Hashkina is that you're directly in contact with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And be able to picture that and make it a reality and live it, I guess, you were then able to be Moyes and Olam Haba. Olam Haba, V'oyavim Olam Haba, and they loved Olam Haba. Amnam Hayoim. Sheyesh kol kach tmunos today that we have so many pictures. We're not accustomed, we haven't developed this ability. And therefore, we're lax, we're lazy. We're like giving thought to Olam Haba, even though we don't have no picture of it. But without his pointings, you can't attain any shumration, any effect. Dogma, he says, let's take an example here. Chazal tells us that it's netzach netzach eternal. Gemara in Kedushin, Olam Shekulei Toiv, Olam Shekulei Oruch. Shehaya Hagayin of Simcha Zitzel Zal, right? So the Tal Tamid of Inish Nitzkis. The Simcha Zitzel Zal Tamid Kelm wanted to describe, what does it mean eternity? The Omer, the Tal asked me, so he would say to them, picture to yourselves, someone took a bat, small seeds, and then a bird came and took one seed and flew away. A year later, the bird came again, took one more seed and flew away. And how long would it take? How long would it take at a box of little seeds? Sesame seeds. I had a package of sesame seeds. Once a year, a bird would come, take one seed and fly away. Then he would say, "To time what you call, excuse me, I skipped. Picture that your whole room that you're in is full of these seeds." And the same thing's happening. Once a year, canal. Once a year, a bird comes and takes one seed. Gotta take it to the next level. The whole world was full of these little seeds. The whole world full of sesame seeds. Despite the dot faces, not give thought. How long will it take for all these seeds to be taken away by that bird? You would say it is no end. It will never end. Right? That's touching on what eternity is. Or someone who's it works for someone who's accustomed himself to picture things, to live the pictures, imagination. And it's so interesting because you would think that no, imagination is the opposite of intellect, opposite of. And here we're saying we have to, imagination is the tool to expand our knowledge. Our knowledge enters something. But we know. That's it. Our minds are not Ein Sof, our minds. But with the imagination, he's saying, I could expand it realms beyond. Well, and then I could compare that nitzchis to the 70 years of this world. And you see that comparison is nothing.
The amazing, I was just thinking, the amazing part is the direction of education today is going down the path of more pictures and more aids in the classroom, that they have smart boards and they're integrating the internet into large screens and everything like that, as opposed to sitting down with a book, a Gemara, a Sefer, so to say, and using your brain.
Using your brain. Listen, I remember, I remember going to the fruit store, and this Ushada fruit store guy, he didn't go to college, nothing. He would have, pencil on behind his ear, and he would have the paper bags, which he used to have. And he would just write down all the fruits and what they could, he would write down a long list of numbers. And he would tally them, 1, 2, 3, without any thought. But who could do addition even today? Everything, well, where's the calculator? Today you don't even need that, right? I understand you could speak to your smartphone and it just tells you,
Even going back, there was a switch when cash registers became electric, and they had little calculators built in, because you used to have to know how to make change.
Right.
But now, it's $15.75. You put in 20 and it does the math.
Right. So we become good. Phone numbers. Who didn't know, dozens of phone numbers for heart today? You don't know your own phone number, right? So our brains have atrophied, and certainly to take it beyond that, to think. Look, when I was a Rebbe in Ar David, there was something that I noticed regularly, that the guys never learned how to think. And when we would learn at Tosfos, and they understood the question, and then they would understand the answer. And I said, okay, how does that answer the question? And many times I get a blank look. We just learned the kasha, we just learned the answer. And I would say, okay, how does that answer? And they would look at me like, okay, because they weren't being taught in school how to think. They were taught, this and that's it.
Memorize to
memorize. And it was an amazing thing to see how over the year they would start like thinking, and wow. And that's when they get that geschmack in learning, because you suddenly understood it, a comprehension. Which they say the Asimon fell. Now you suddenly, and that's a very good thing.
Remember the old telephones, yeah.
Old telephones, right? And so certainly our imagination, even our imagination is already played out. You have all the science and all there, you know. So let's see. Hagayin Rav Eliezer as a Deslazal. Rav Desla Mevar Heinin B'Toisefes expanded this idea by in a way that everyone could understand it. Chazal Yafa Sha'acha Shekaras Ruach B'Olam Haba Mikoch Ha'olam Haz. Pirkei Avos says the one sha'achas, short time of the pleasure of the Keras Ruach in Olam Haba is better than all of the life in Olam Haba. Chazal Nosno Tzir. He says, so Chazal giving us a description today that's pointing on Olam Haba so that we could thought about Olam Haba. Today, last is Mishka and Shalom is why they're telling us that so that we could compare. We could live in and compare. Okay, Olam Haba. And to tell us that they're not comparable at all. But that's what does it mean? When Chazal said that Yafa Sha'achas Shakaras Ruach B'Olam Haba Mikol Chai Olam Haba. What is that Chazal? What does it mean? Mikol Chai Olam Haba? Rav Desler, Elishainai. Chepzi Legalis was there. He says, I want to reveal it, teach you Masha Zechisi L'Shmoa, what I merited to hear. Mea Hara, I don't know what that stands for. B'neinu Moreinu Rabbeinu. Rav Tzvi Hirsch Breide Zal. Rav Tzvi Hirsch Breide, I think was the son-in-law of Alter from Kelm. Or he took over the Kelm afterwards. Who Pirish Ki Inyan Koch Hayolam Hazahu. He said, when it says that it's better in Koch Hayolam Hazahu, in the Kabbalah it's El Toich Rega Achas. If we'll gather into one moment, oh, it's all that time. All the pleasure consolidated into one time. All the pleasure that a person has all of his life. All the hours of Choradim, all the moments of Simcha, of Tanu, Gishmak, Shoyalor, B'chol Meshachai, his whole lifespan. And now, concentrate them into one moment. Then add to that, because this is the imagination. Is when you want to picture something, imagine something, you can't do it in one shot. You have to develop it. You don't go from 0 to 100. So first picture taking all your pleasure of all your life. It includes that whole list of simcha and tiny gishmak into one moment. You got to take it by levels. How you do it. Which is why Simcha Yisrael did it with the bird and the seed. He didn't just say picture the whole world full of seeds. No, you want it to impact. So you start with a box, and then you start with the room, and but that's how you build it. But when you do that, the seer could have an impact in you. So then he says, when it's arflazeh, so add to that, as kol ha'oisha ha'nachshesh ha'beirav u'miyada b'chol yimei chayeh. Add to that all the pleasure that all of your acquaintances have their whole life. I know again, kol ha'smochos v'azman in terms of you have to picture that. Calls my name, obviously you don't know everything about the other people, right? Imagine what do you know of your friends? You have to picture now all of them, all their pleasure that they have their whole life. And then take all of that and put it concentrated into that same moment. And then give it to one person. Who can you evaluate? Can you picture the amount of pleasure, that intense pleasure that person will have? He's feeling the pleasure of a whole lifetime of many, many people in one moment. It's like a crazy high. Ochel Zois Vachesed says, but that's not it. Kinitzar for Tech Hareka this will also put into that moment. Itin Adam says, Kol Oisha and Achashet Antik Kol Ayir B'Meshach Kol Mechayim. All the pleasure of all the people in the city that they will have all of their life. That also goes into that moment. But Yosef is taking the time for Oidus Oisha Shekol Doire Ayorish B'Chol HaMedina B'Chol Medina Medina. We'll lay into that all the pleasure of all those who live in all the countries, of all the cities of all the countries. And all the pleasures of one generation. And we'll put that all together and give it to one person in one moment. But he says, that's not yet Kol Chayoy Lamasa. Kol Chayoy means all of Lamasa. Shein Ze'elam Oitza Adar, because so far we've only put into our little pill that generation. But Kol Chayoy Lamasa means all of the world. Kol Chayoy Lamasa in the Tzarfas, Kol Oisha, Kol Adar, all the pleasure of all the generation, Marisha Shabir, from the beginning of creation, that's so Kol Adar to the end of creation. Kol Mamish, Kol Chayoy Lamasa, all of the good of Vailamaza without any exceptions. All of that will be granted to a person in one moment. There's no way of having more pleasure than that. That's like the highest of the highs you could have. We can't even picture how pleasure that could be. We must probably fall apart. We can't even in our minds understand it. Yet, Pika said, the Yofa, Kuras, what was the words? Yofa Shacha Kuras Ruach, which we have to define that. In Olam we call one Shah of Kuras Ruach and Olam is better than all of Chayyim Olam Hazeh. Right, so Vafa became Kuras Ruach by Olam Gadol Hemena. 1 minute, excuse me.